Hey, we're live. Welcome to this is Awana Connect number 3, building a club calendar that works for everyone. And so, thank you for just taking a couple of minutes to tune in, either watching live or watching the recording of this. Been getting some good feedback, so thank you for tuning in. Um, so, I know a lot of you are right in the middle of planning and preparing for your club year, especially they want ministry directors, club directors. And so I just wanted to talk to you about, building club calendar, some tips that you might want to think about and maybe help you a little bit with that. So here we go. So a club calendar is a great tool to, number one, inform your parents. When do you start? What are the club nights, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a tool to inform parents. The second thing is it keeps everybody on track to finish their book. So we know, hey, we've got this much work and we've got this much time and we've got to keep things moving. So it keeps everybody on track. And then thirdly, I put on here, or making some notes for myself, we intentionally add more fun and excitement through some theme nights. So now some of you need to plan your fun and exciting. And I'm not one of those people, but some people need to plan their fun and exciting. So it just helps us stay on top of that. So I'm just going to kind of give you some thoughts on this. And so here we go. So first thing you want to do, either you're going to get your calendar on paper, you can use a digital calendar, whatever you want to do, but you want to start with the bookend. So what are the nights, or what's the first night? What's your last night, your awards night? And then then you want to take out any holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, put those on the calendar, Easter, all those, if there's any school weeks that are out, you want to take that. So you put your bookends in. When's the first night? And that could be, some of you are starting in August, some of you are starting in September, whatever works for you. What's the end date? Typically, I think 32 weeks ideally, and how long you need. Take out the holidays and when we're going to finish. So that's number one, is the bookends. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to add leader training, mid-year leader meetings, and area training. So typically, when I'm doing a calendar, I would have we'd start first week of September, the last week of August. I would schedule a leader training. And then a week before that, I would schedule a director training. So you've got a director training or a director meeting, and we're going to get your club directors and plan and answer questions and what do we want to do, and et cetera. And then the next week, you'd have your leader training where you'd have everybody come together, and we're going to have kind of central messaging and then breakout by club. And then the following week, we're going to start. Now, sometimes that, we at our club, we always like to do it on the Tuesday nights. That was our club night, but it may be weekends, however it works for you. I think if we start to get in the habit of the week before, get everybody on track. So then I put on here mid-year leader meetings. So maybe throughout the year, I think especially at Christmas break, we would always like to do we haven't done it in a few years, but we'd always like to do like a Christmas party or something like that, just to appreciate the leaders, kind of what went well, what do we need to work on, those kind of things. And so you might want to consider that, or maybe, one in the fall, one at Easter break. It doesn't have to be, it could be a leader meeting right after church on a Sunday morning. It could be a leader meeting right after church that Easter Sunday. So add some mid-year leader meetings. And then you want to put on the calendar the area training. So for instance, this year, we're going to be working with a group of missionaries to do another virtual Awana Ministry Conference. And I'm going to be giving those dates out pretty soon. There's going to be one in September, one in October here on the West Coast. The one that's really going to apply to us is the West Coast, or is the one in October, excuse me. And then also at the end of the year, you want to add in a leader appreciation week, dinner, barbecue, have them come to your house, have them meet at the church, something to appreciate your leaders, and then kind of finish the year like, again, asking people what went well, what are one or two things we can do to improve. And so yeah, you've got so now you've got your start date, you got your finish date, you got some leader trainings, you got a director meeting, and then I'm just going to throw in something here to consider. So build in cushions to avoid leader burnout. So here's what I mean by that. If you start in September and you go every week and you finish in May, there's a tendency for could be leader burnout. So what we would like to do is put some cushions in there. And here's what I mean is you would, let's say you start in September. The first real natural break is Thanksgiving. So if you meet Wednesday night, of course, the day before Thanksgiving, you'll probably have that off. So now the week before, you might want to consider having, like we would always do our Grand Prix the week before Thanksgiving on a club night. So that way, our leaders, we'd still ask them to come, but they'd have no responsibility related to the kids. And then after, in the spring, we would have another outreach event. You could do a local Bible quiz, a parent night, something like that. So maybe right before the Easter break. So now think about this. So you start September, so the leaders do 5, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and then they get 2-week break because you're giving them Thanksgiving off. You're giving the week before Thanksgiving off because you're having some kind of a club event, Grand Prix, something. So now you get 2 weeks off. Then they go back for another couple of weeks. Now they get 2 weeks off for Christmas. Now they go another 6 weeks. So they get 2 weeks off for Easter because they got the Easter break off. And then they got the week before because you had hosted some kind of an outreach event so that, or some kind of fun event or something, so that they don't have any responsibility. So they go 5 or 6 weeks, they get a couple weeks off, they go another couple weeks, they get 2 weeks off, they go another 6 weeks, they get 2 weeks off, then they finish the year. So we found that's pretty effective at just creating some cushion to avoid leader burnout. So take that for what it's worth. Some of you don't do Grand Prix, great. Some of you do Grand Prix on Saturday, great. But that's just kind of and just take it for what it's worth. Try and build some nights in so that it's not just a total grind for the whole year. So the next thing you want to do is you want to add in some theme nights. So theme nights are just nights to add some extra fun and excitement to Awana. And so you might have create dress up nights, you might have discipleship nights, but add some theme nights. So I'm going to talk about some different kinds of theme nights. So a kind of theme night might be a fun night, dress up night, something fun for the kids, crazy hat night, pirate night. You could do a fake injury night where they dress up their fake injury. You could do all these different fun nights for the kids. Okay. Or some of your fun nights could be nothing related to the kids. You could have a balloon night, like we would do. We play games with balloons, so that's kind of a special theme night, but it really doesn't require anything from the parents. Or we have special game nights with different things, so that it adds extra fun and excitement for club, but it doesn't require anything from the parents. So number one is having a fun nights. Number two would be evangelism nights. So what I would think about for evangelism nights is those are like bring a friend nights, things like that. And when you think about that, think about what can you do to help kids invite friends. And so, years ago, at our club, we did a pizza cookie night where we made cookies the size of pizzas. If they brought a friend, they and their friend got to split the pizza cookie. We did a pie your leader night. If they brought a friend, they got to throw a pie in the leader. So rather than just like, hey, it's bring a friend night, do the best you can to bring your friend. You would have, help the kids, like make it so that they have to bring somebody. So those are evangelism nights. So you get your fun nights, you get your evangelism nights, and then lastly, discipleship nights. Now, what I mean by discipleship nights is you could have, like we used to do, however many sections they passed, we'd have a certain night they'd get a prize, or we'd have a drawing, or things like that. Now with a new TNT, where everything's group pace, if they're caught up, so instead of, hey, if you're caught up, you get ice cream, or we're having an ice cream party. If you're caught up, you get extra Awana shares. If you're caught up, you get some kind of prize. And then what I would suggest is doing those things quarterly or at least twice a year, because that way, imagine 2 weeks before the end of club in the spring, and you go, hey, Billy, you've got 20 sections you've got to do, and so let's do it to finish your book. So every quarter, you're kind of helping them catch up, and then maybe some kids might drift a little bit and get behind, and then you help them catch up, and then they drift a little bit. So do those discipleship nights or fun nights, or like this year we're doing a high five night. So if they're caught up, they get 5 Awana shares. Things like that. Think about that, of how you can help them stay on track. Because then the week before, 2 weeks before, hey, don't forget, in 2 weeks, it's high five night. Now they only can be at that. If you do them quarterly, they can only be behind by a certain number of sections. They can't be behind a lot. So you want to do those things quite a bit, and then you can make announcements. Hey, Billy, you've got to catch up 2 sections. So it's not such an overwhelming thing for the children. So do those quarterly. The other thing you could do for discipleship night is have a pastor night. Have the pastor come in, maybe stump the pastor. The kids could ask questions. Maybe the week before, have them write down their questions about how they can, questions they want to ask the pastor to stump the pastor, and then give those questions to the pastor. He comes, goes through the questions. So those are kind of a discipleship night. So you got your fun night, you got your evangelism nights, you got your discipleship nights. Now, the other thing to think about is, how often should you do theme nights? Now, some people do theme nights once a month, some do every week. And I don't think there's any problem with either one. I think if you do them every week, what you want to think about is this. Okay, if you have a crazy dress up night, and you've got parents who've got 3 or 4 kids, and if every week they've got to dress all their kids up, and one week is pirate night, and the next week it's fake injury night, the next week it's something else, then those moms may not like you after a while. So, but if you have a dress up night, and the next week is a discipleship night where it's a high five or something like that, where they got to catch up, and then the next week it's bring a friend night, or the next night it's a balloon night, or a special kind of game night, or a Bible quiz night, or something like that, you're not making it so overwhelming for the parents. So you could do theme nights every week, but just don't have dress up, or at least I would recommend not having dress up nights every week, because you might make some enemies with moms. But anyway, you could do, I don't think there's anything wrong with having excitement every week, or adding extra excitement. You could have a backwards night. You could have a just all kinds of things. So now the last thing I want to share is just a bonus. So here's just something to think about. Okay, you have your calendar, your start date, your end date, your theme nights, your Grand Prix, different things like that. And then should you schedule or ask the club directors to schedule how they're going to finish the book. So for instance, hey, this week it's going to be Bear Hug 1, then next week it's going to be Bear Hug 2, then Bear Hug 3. So would you want to put those, have a cubby calendar that has the bear hugs in there, or the schedule of where those child should be in their books, so that at the end of the year they can finish a handbook? That might be something to think about. So you have a cubby calendar, you have a Sparks calendar, you have a TNT calendar, and put those things in. Put those the date, the sections they're supposed to be in, so that way the parents know, where's my child supposed to be in the book. So when they sit down with their book and they open it up, and they're in section they're in Bear Hug 8, or they're in TNT section 1-3, and they should be in 3-2. Moms and dads know, hey, I got a lot of work to do, and so you might want to think about that and you can help your or ask your directors to help with that, your club directors to help with that, of how they want the calendar to be laid out for the kids to be able to finish their book. So that's how to build some tips on how to build a club calendar. Hope that was helpful. It applies to some of you, certainly not all of you, but it applies to some of you. And getting ready for a club, and I know we're starting to do some training, some leader meetings, and that's excitement. If you need me to come to your church and do any kind of a leader meeting, just to help you with anything, I'm certainly available. And so, thanks a bunch, and we'll see you on down the road. Bye-bye.